If you are experiencing foundation issues, get a free estimate from Ox Foundations.
We talk high school baseball this morning with the head man over at Sylacauga High School, Jeff Bell. Jeff, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm well, and you recovered from the cold game Monday night?
That's right. You know, that's the way it is this time of
That's
year.
a good way to describe it.
But just the fact that we're able to get on the field again, you know, we missed a couple of weeks of the season already just with the constant rain. So, you know, we'd rather be out there and be cold than have to push games back or not get to play at all. So.
That was you playing that game on a rise and the wind blowing, freeze warning in effect, and you're playing baseball. How do the kids? Do they need extra motivation to get out there? Or are they ready to go?
Well, now they're ready to go. You know, like I said, having missed a few games because of rain. Mm-hmm. But I tell you what, though, night after night of being in it, it gets hard to be excited to be standing out in that kind of weather. But I mean, they do a good job of you know, just sort of eliminating certain facets of, you know, whatever the circumstances are that they have to overcome.
Yeah.
They usually do a pretty good job of doing that.
Yeah, and some people may not know, but Sylacauga, the Talladega County baseball champions, and talk about that tournament just a little bit.
It's always good to play well in that. I know, you know, that the longer I'm here, the more I realize how important that is to the community and to the whole county as well. Yeah. Whoever's holding that trophy for the year, I think, you know, takes a lot of pride in that. And it was even, you know, the tournament was. There were things to overcome in that. You know, we lost a day to weather. You know, we lost a couple of days to basketball. So it sort of got chopped up into where it was. It didn't have a tournament feel to it. It's almost like a regular season game where you play one game here, take a day or two off, then you get back after it, you know, in a day or so.
Who played well?
Cole Porch was really good on the mound. Really, all of our pitchers.
Talk about Porch a little bit.
Porch is one that really came on late last year and pitched some pretty big games for us. The guy that we counted on in the playoffs. So we knew coming into the season that he was going to be one of the ones that we count on pretty heavily. And usually when we give him the ball, we expect to just, you know, him go out there, execute pitches, and, you know, kind of speed the game along, and before you know it, we're in the sixth inning, and, you know, and with a lead.
So he can give you some innings then.
Yes, yeah. And what makes him so effective is he's always around the strike zone.
That's hard to beat.
It's good to have. And it's not just one pitch. You know, he locates his fastballs for a strike. He's got a really good changeup. And he throws his curveball for strikes.
Other pitchers on the staff.
Tyler Thompson is sort of the one that we ride when we go out there and he's on the mound. We think we're going to win. And it's almost like the defense plays different behind him. And I've experienced that as a player and as a coach. When you have a certain confidence when your guy's on the mound. And we've got really a kind of a stable of young arms that all have, you know, a good bit of potential. They need to become more consistent. The ability's there. They just need that varsity experience and being under those lights of a varsity game. So they're going to get that opportunity this year. And I think they're gonna get some pretty valuable experience so that down the road in really important games, as we start area play and playoff games, they're gonna feel comfortable on varsity mound.
Had a pretty good pitching performance against Chilton County. Talk about that.
He did, and you could tell pretty early that he had really good stuff. You know, and the cold weather that always benefits the pitching and the defense.
Was it a no-hitter? Was it a no-hitter?
Yes, He threw a no-hitter.
Now, speaking of the young man, his name again?
Tyler Thompson.
Okay.
And, you know, I don't want to take anything away from him by saying the weather had something to do with it. He was obviously, I was going to say he was unhittable, but literally he was unhittable. And our defense made 3 really good plays behind him. Zach Dew made a really tough play up the middle to preserve it. Brady Davis made a sliding catch in the outfield that preserved it. And in the last play of the game, Jordan Ridgway backhands the ball up the middle that, off the bat, you wonder if it's going to get through or not. But yeah, Tyler was dominant against Chilton County. Experience
off of last year's tournament team?
Yeah, we're returning a lot of starters. Now, we lost some really big pieces. Bailey Ward's gone and Andrew Padgett's gone, and we're already missing those guys this year. But defensively, the infield's back. We've got starters at every position in the infield. We're missing a couple of guys that are overcoming some injuries right now. We expect to have both of them back. That's Luke Honeycutt and Andrew Schmidt. We expect both of those guys back before area play starts. But the middle of our lineup, Zach and Jordan and Peyton Natale and Dalen Keith, all those guys bring a lot of playoff experience back with them. So, once we get into these tight games, they're going to be battle tested. So it won't affect them.
Offensively, describe the Aggie team for the spring.
Wow, it's we don't know yet. I think we're going to be sort of kind of put pressure on you with bunts and hit and runs kind of thing. Where early on I thought, we may just basically bludgeon you with home runs and doubles. Maybe as we play more games and the weather warms up, we may turn into one of those kind of teams. But right now we're just going to try to use speed. That is against most people we play. We have that advantage is with team speed. So we're going to use that until the bats and the weather warms up.
Weather is going to be nice today and not as cold tonight. And Sylacauga will host a Fayetteville team that is battle tested. They've had great teams down there, and no matter what the classifications are, you'll have your hands full.
Yes, exactly. And there's a lot to be said for being battle tested. They're not going to be scared of us. I know that. And there's sort of like a sibling rivalry here. We're going to be excited because it's our first home game, and they're going to be excited because it's Fayetteville and Sylacauga. So it's going to be fun. They've got some really good pitching, and in high school baseball, pitching equalizes everything. But I learned a long time ago that classification doesn't mean anything. They're very capable of winning that game.
And there'll be a lot of butts on the metal seats and folding chairs and that kind of thing for tonight's game. Is there a JV game prior to the varsity?
Yes, junior varsity will start at 4. The varsity game will follow that, roughly 30 minutes.
Okay.
30 minutes
and
after.
what's the price to get in?
It's $5.
Okay. All right. Now the overhaul of the complex there is done, I guess now, right?
Yes, it's everything's finished. Now we're just breaking it all in and getting used to where all the light switches are, and, little things like that.
Make sure they're turned on and all.
Yes.
Feeling pretty good shape?
It is. Actually, I think the rainouts have helped it. We put a lot of practice hours in, and when it's damp, early in the preseason, it gets chewed up. But with our rainouts, and we've started a lot of games on the road, it's had a chance to heal up, and the playing serve itself is in really good shape.
What are you expecting from this Aggie club? Too early to tell?
No. The expectations are to equal what we did last year, or, at the very least, and to keep going. Now whether the team makeup is different this year, even though there's a lot of the same parts. The makeup of the team is different than last year. I think we're going to rely a lot more on pitching this year than we did last year, and maybe not have the capability to outscore teams like we did last year. But regardless of whether it's a pitching-based team or an offensive-based team, or whether you're down on talent or really high on talent, the expectation's not going to change. The expectation's to number one, get in the playoffs, and number two, stay in them. And the ultimate goal is to, be booking trips to Montgomery. We kind of follow suit. We're trying to keep up with the basketball team. I joke with Coach Copeland all the time. Anytime we win a game, he'll send me a text or phone call, say, "Hey, congratulations." I say, "Man, we're just trying to keep up with you guys." So, but that's the goal, is get where they get.
Yeah. Is the makeup of this team of such that they can make a run this year?
They can. And I believe it's because of the pitching. Like we just said a minute ago, pitching
wins games.
That's it. It does. And we stress that. Pitching and defensive periods consume much of our practice time. Because if you can do those two things, you're gonna be in the game, win or lose. You're gonna have a chance to win it. So we spend a lot of time on it. We stress it, and it's what I hang my hat on, is pitching and defense.
Well, Fayetteville tonight and over at Walton Cruz Field, and what's coming up after tonight?
After tonight, we'll be tomorrow. We'll be on the road at Opelika, and Saturday on the road at Wetumpka.
All right. Now, spring break is coming up. What are we doing in spring break?
We are. We're actually kind of scrambling right now. I'm trying to find a term. We've always kind of relied on the Lake Martin Classic, and I think Coach Brooks said it's first time in 23 years he hasn't done it. So it's, we sort of assume that's what we're going to be, and if nothing else, we'll try to find some single games here and there and fill the time. Our junior varsity is going to a tournament at Pelham High School, so varsity time, it may be good time to catch your breath and heal up and work on some of the things we need to work on. But hopefully we'll find a tournament.
Senior leadership for this club this year.
Oh man, it's really good. And it started way back in the fall. I mean, you have guys like Zach Dew and Anderson Wyckoff that lead the way, and not just physically, and doing it on the field. They're vocal leaders. They're locker room guys. Cole's more of is a quiet leader, where he's going to do it. He's going to do it just, by example. But he's got that kind of a quiet fire in him too, where he likes to compete, and that kind of rubs off on everybody else. And then Tyler's a little bit of both of those. He can get vocal when he needs to, but he'd rather just stand on the mound and throw strikes and do what he's supposed to do, and also lead
act like he's been there before.
That's
right?
it. That's right. He has too.
We must not forget that these are student athletes. They're not just athletes.
That's right. They take a lot of pride. This is what I love about the team so much, is they take a lot of pride in whatever they do, whether it's some of our conditioning stuff or what we do on the field. But it's interesting. I would like to do the research and see how many guys we have that are over 3.0 grade point average. There's a ton of them, I know that. And there's probably 3 or 4 or 5 that are at 4.0 and above.
Wow.
So they take a lot of pride in everything they do. And not only good students, they're good people. We have some that volunteer at the elementary schools. A good bit. We've got some that are in, our Future Business Leaders of America. They're going to be going on trips and having competitions too. So, they're really good baseball players, but they're all really well-rounded kids.
Is there a player that in the back of your mind you think, this kid can really have a solid season for us this year, and maybe it's somebody that other folks have kind of not noticed?
One that, and as we look at our rosters every year, and you try to put together batting orders and things like that, there's always the ones at the top, we know what we got with him. We're going to have a good year with him. And then there's marginal guys that have the ability, but either they have the inexperience, or they're in a new position, or they're having to assume a new role in the team, or whatever it is. But guys like, I think Peyton Natale is one. He's as solid defensively as anybody in our program. And he's got a lot of talent at the plate. As his confidence starts to grow and he moves up and down in the lineup and starts to settle in one of those spots in the middle of the lineup, he's one that if he has a good year, we're going to have a good year. And he's definitely capable of that. And he's worked, all off season, to get stronger. He stays. There's a group of these guys that stay every single night. And, after we finish practice, they'll go, down to the convenience store, grab a Gatorade, they turn around and come right back. And they spend all night in there. So he's going to be one. Nick Malden's going to be one that had good years last year, but we're almost overshadowed by Bailey and Zach and Ridgeway and those guys. But and these guys had just as good a year. So now it's their turn.
Yeah. Finally, this morning, we're speaking with Coach Jeff Bell, the head baseball coach at Silicaca High School. What can fans expect tonight as the Aggies take the field against Fayetteville? They're
going to get a team that, number one, on the mound, they're going to come out there and we're going to throw strikes. We're going to come right at you. As I tell our guys a good bit, and this is not to sound arrogant in any way, but there's not many teams that are going to play better defense than us. So we're gonna throw strikes, and our defense is going to make all the plays. Offensively, we're going to try to get on base. We're going to try to run. We're going to try to apply some kind of pressure, and above all else, we're going to play as if it's a playoff game. That's something that I think we've needed to work on here early in the season, is playing at a constant level instead of sort of playing up and down. I want us to play at a playoff level and bring that sort of enthusiasm and that sort of energy every night. And that's going to begin tonight.
All right, and finally, part two, I guess I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about your surrounding cast. You got some guys that work with you that help every day to make a difference for this club.
Yeah, Matt does a good job with our pitching staff. And just in some of the conversations he and I have had lately, he's really starting to kind of get a feel for calling pitches in a game.
We're talking about Matt Collier.
Matt Collier,
yeah.
yes.
Okay.
His throwing routine and the programs that he has with the pitchers are really, really good. And he's beginning to get a very good feel for calling pitches during the game. And Barry Strickland's helping out. He's sort of floating around with our middle school and our high school teams. Robbie Richardson, I think, he's healthy again. He's back
an old hand now.
And he's back to being his wide open self again too. So it's good to have him back. And Nate's Nate. Nate's
That's
Nate.
a good description.
Hey, whatever you need him to do, he's going to be there.
Right.
And like I think I've told you this before, you'll hear him before you see him.
There you go.
But he's great to have around.
First pitch tonight, JV, 5:30. Is that right?
4 o'clock.
4 o'clock, and varsity first pitch.
It's going to be roughly 6:30.
Okay, all right. Be a part of $5. All you need to get in there. Got plenty of food there too. So, Aggies opening home game tonight against the Fayetteville Wolves. And Coach, always a pleasure to see you. Thanks for coming by.
Thanks a lot.
All right, Coach Jeff Bell, head baseball coach of the Silicaca Aggies, our guest. Aggies in Fayetteville tonight over at the field. We'll be back with more right after this.